Hey guys, John V from Phone Mini here. You're watching our video review of the iPad Mini 3. The trend is that the iPad gets some new hardware with each successive device, but with this year, with the iPad Mini 3, it's a little bit strange because the only new addition here is the Touch ID fingerprint sensor. Well, there's certainly nothing new with the design here. It's identical to its predecessor, so in terms of its overall size, weight, and thickness, nothing different about it. Despite that, it still is a premium tablet. It's compact and has a solid construction thanks to its aluminum body. Well, there's technically one new change with its design. It's related to the home button. It now incorporates that Touch ID fingerprint sensor, which is nice because it's an alternative way of unlocking the device, and you have support for Apple Pay as well. So we're going to the same display from before. That's a 7.9-inch 2048 by 1536 Retina display. So the details are nice thanks to its pixel density count of 326 pixels per inch. So you get some crisp looking details, so nothing different about that. At the same time, it exhibits pretty much the same characteristics from before. You have a slightly improved color temperature of 6656 kelvins. You have also pretty much the same color reproduction from before. It's not totally accurate just because you get a little bit of saturation with it, but still a delightful treat. The only weird thing here is just the brightness output. Now, last year's model produced 450 nits, which is pretty good, but this time around it's dropped down considerably to 312 nits, so it's harder to view outside where there's more glare and direct sunlight. I'm not going to go into too much detail regarding the iOS 8 experience here, just because we talked about it already in the iPad Air 2 review and even the iPhone reviews that we've done already. But basically, with here the iPad Mini 3, it's not quite as versatile compared to the iPad Air 2, just because of the real estate. It makes it tougher for things like typing, so for productivity work, it's not as ideal for that. You get a little bit more of it from the iPad Air 2, but still with iOS 8, it has some enhanced features that really give it a little bit more depth, rivaling Android, and at the same time, it has that simplistic operation that makes it very easy to move around. What's most shocking is that the iPad Mini 3 doesn't see an upgrade to its processor. It's the same one used with last year's model. So that's a dual-core Apple A7 chip, which is based on 64-bit architecture and with 1 GB of RAM. It's kind of surprising because you know that Apple's known to give its devices, newer hardware with each successor, but this has no change whatsoever. Despite that, it's still pretty responsive and fast. There's no arguing that the iPad Mini 3 is a fantastic device for multimedia consumption. It excels in the web browsing experience just because you have fast page loads, smooth navigational controls. The music player is unchanged from last year, so the same presentation and functionality. As far as the audio quality from its speaker, it produces 76.6 decibels of power, which is pretty neutral in tone, but it's kind of light on bass. And finally, if you love watching videos, you're gonna like the intimate experience you get out of this just because of its compact size. It makes it very easy to use outside if you're at a cafe or indoors at home just watching it on the couch. Apple has kept the same camera here with the iPad Mini 3. It's the same 5-megapixel iSight camera from before. So it features a 5-element lens, an f2.4 aperture, backside illuminated sensor, and 1080p video recording. As for the camera app, nothing really new, with the exception that we now have the option to adjust its exposure. Well, there's certainly no surprises to the camera's quality just because, like last year, it produces the same results here. So you get some meaningful shots filled with sharp details, new natural looking colors, and even proper exposure. Indoors, where lighting's sparse, you tend to have details that are softer and colors appear more washed out. At the same time, you get pretty much the same qualities with its 1080p video recording quality. So it's more than usable, though in low lighting conditions, you tend to see a lot of noise in it. But the thing that really boggles our mind is still why it lacks continuous autofocus. So in order to adjust it, you just gotta touch the screen every time. For whatever reason, the battery life here with the iPad mini 3 isn't as long lasting compared to its predecessor last year. Now, in everyday usage, we're able to get by a solid 1 day out of it, but when it comes to our battery benchmark test, it achieves a rating of 6 hours and 53 minutes, which is a far cry from the iPad mini 2's tally of 8 hours and 28 minutes. What's really confusing is Apple's decision in giving the iPad mini 3 a $100 premium price tag over last year's model. Now the iPad 2 you could pick up for $300, but in order to pick up the iPad 3, you're gonna have to fork over an extra $100, so $400 for this one here. And it's kind of mind-boggling knowing that the only new addition here is just the Touch ID fingerprint sensor. Everything else is pretty much identical. Honestly, it's pretty tough recommending the iPad mini 3 over its predecessor, especially that $100 price point. It's just mind-boggling to think that a $100 difference, the only thing new you're getting is just that Touch ID fingerprint sensor. So if you're in the market for a compact tablet, you still probably want to look at the iPad mini 2. That's unless you really want that Touch ID fingerprint sensor. So if you guys want to learn more about the iPad mini 3, you can check out our website, phonearena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.